Namaste everyone. Welcome to the Cārvāka podcast. This is your host Kushalmehra. So today's podcast is on the recent spate of protests in Ladakh, where you saw footage all over the news of certain elements inside Ladakh burning the BJP office, and there was quite a bit of ruckus on the streets, and then obviously the government had to take action. I think the curfew was declared, and as of now, from what I have understood, is the Home Ministry has suspended the FCRA license of Sonam Wangchuk's in NGO or organization, and Sonam Wangchuk has been arrested. Sonam Wangchuk was on protest non-stop in Ladakh, and then after the spate of violent protests where a lot of damage was done, everything has been shut down. So to talk about it, what is the history of this entire process, what really has happened, I have Tushar with me. हाँ भाई क्या हाल है?
All well, but not all is well in Ladakh apparently. Actually, Leh, not even Ladakh for that matter. But yes, Sonam Wangchuk was indeed a troublemaking element. His videos are all over Twitter. What has his ideas been? But to sum up the matter, for around 50 years, the people of Ladakh were pushing for a UT status. Pre 2019, before the revocation of Article 370, the Ladakhis had only one demand, that we want to be granted a union territory status separated from Jammu and Kashmir, because right now we are second fiddle to Kashmir. And for those 50 years, Kashmir had a lot of problems of its own, and therefore Ladakh was pretty much like an ignored step baby for the center in Delhi. And Ladakh was always strategically important, a lesson we should have learned in 1962. And when I say important, I just do not mean the people there. That's the foremost thing, but also from a point of infrastructure. For those who've never been to Ladakh, because to understand Ladakh, you have to understand the ecology there as well. When you land in Leh, and when you land in cities, when you land in an airplane, you can feel the size of the airport, or you can feel the size of the runway. But when you land in Leh, it's a beautiful sight, but it appears so small because this entire stretch is so vast. The whole city of Leh, it's vast, endless beauty. That's how Ladakh. It's a cold, barren desert at a very high altitude, but it's just endless. It's huge. And what the Ladakhis wanted was a UT status. What should have ideally happened was that they should have been made into a UT many, many years ago. The infrastructure spree should have been very, very rapid, given how we faced some limitations in 1962, but none of it happened. Cut to 2019. Revocation of Article 370 happens. They get the UT status. Then a new demand begins that we want statehood. And we want to be included in Schedule 6, to which we'll come later. So until 2019, Sonam Wangchuk, or his father, who happened to be a Congress MLA, he won the 1972 Jammu and Kashmir Assembly elections. He won it in Leh with a thumping majority, and he was a minister in Sheikh Abdullah government. So his demand was simple: I want Ladakh to be declared as a UT. He even went on a fast a couple of times. One of those times, Indira Gandhi also flew to Leh and all that. But it was actually the Modi government that fulfilled that wish. Even Sonam Wangchuk acknowledged that. Now, in the last 2, 3 years, what had started happening was he started going on these climate fasts. His idea used to be save the Himalayas. We cannot allow rapid development of Himalayas. We have to be very concerned about the consumerism. We have to be worried about how the ecology is being depleted. And last year, he had this 21 odd day climate fast. And then he made his march to Delhi, walking through Ladakh to Kashmir, Himachal, Haryana, Punjab, and all that. He was camping in Delhi for a while. He did not get the attention of the government or the mainstream media. But now he suddenly started becoming anti development when it comes to Ladakh. See, it's very ironical. On one hand, he says that the youth of Ladakh is unemployed, they do not have great opportunities beyond tourism. On the other hand, he also says that we do not want corporates to sort of be over invested in Ladakh. And this is where the problem is. His problem is against the development in the Himalayan region of Ladakh. Now, there are two problems here. One, who made Sonam Wangchuk the voice of Ladakh? We don't know. It's like Arvind Kejriwal in 2014 saying, I'm the voice of India. Who made him that voice? No one. All self proclaimed activism. Number two, what is the ecology you're trying to save in Ladakh? It's a high altitude, cold, barren desert. The population density is 5 people per square kilometer. 5 people. I grew up in a city which had around 15 lakh people and we were a union territory. We did not have any assembly. Fine, we did not have anything. He wants a state for 3 lakh people and that to a border state. That's point number two. What kind of ecology are you talking about here? Number three, Ladakh cannot perpetually be in that whole tribal mindset forever. I understand there were times when Arunachal was inaccessible, Mizoram, Nagaland, Manipur, they all had their own tyranny of distance, as mainstream media used to refer to. But Ladakh also has to move on. You don't like consumerism, holding an iPhone and a Rode mic on your collar? That's fine. You don't like consumerism while you tour the world in jets and airplanes? That's fine. But you can't dictate on the behalf of the people of Ladakh or for the entire country. You can't do that. No one has given you that right. So this whole consumerism nonsense and saving the Himalayas nonsense, I mean, it's just absurd, right? It's all very absurd. And number four, all those people who are saying, oh, environmentalism is necessary, we need to be very thoughtful about the environment in the Himalayas, have people made an effort to just YouTube the kind of infrastructure that is being built in China occupied Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir and Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir? Skardu, which we recently bombed during Operation Sindoor, is a part of Pakistan occupied Kashmir. They have an airbase there. And here is this lunatic saying, oh, we don't want development. We want development. We need development. Kushal, in 2023, I went to Pengongso from Leh. It was a 7 to 8 hour drive. The roads are still not all season roads. So, and Pengongso, 20% of it is in India. Most of it falls under China. So it's a sort of a natural border we share with China, right? An LAC of sorts. So it took me 8 hours to get there in a very good car. Okay. I couldn't find one public utility on the way, one single public utility outside Leh until Pengongso. It is so undeveloped. So, when you talk of tourism, when you talk of creating jobs, you have to start looking at all avenues. I understand 50 years ago, even the Char Dham Yatra in Uttarakhand was somehow similar. You did not have proper roads or for cars to get easy access there. But that was 50 years ago. Why is this man pushing an agenda that will keep Ladakh undeveloped for the next 50 years? That's the question we need to discuss.
See, somewhere down the core in Indian politics, this level of lunacy has always existed. I don't know. I mean, kind of reminds me of Medha Patkar and the project in Gujarat. We've had the RA protests in Mumbai, and we can create many such parallel examples in every single place. But a lot of like the central government has come down really hard suddenly on Sonam Wangchuk, which will raise natural follow-up questions that I think anybody should ask these follow-up questions. That
Yeah.
if the government had all this information, why did they act now?
See, one thing about this government is it gives everyone a very long rope, perhaps quite a long rope than many would have wished for. But I think that's a justifiable way of going about things rather than just jumping the gun. But one legitimate question everyone has is that the BJP in its manifesto in 2019 for Ladakh made it very clear that they're going to go for Schedule 6 inclusion. What happened then? That's a very, very legitimate question, and let's address the elephant in the room once and for all. Number one, that was May 2019. After May 2019, you had the revocation of Article 370. Next year, you had the pandemic, you had Galwan clash. Galwan made us realize how necessary border infrastructure is, and not just how necessary it is, how far we are lagging behind when it comes to comparing with China. If people want to look up, go back to 2013, the defense minister of the UPA government, the outgoing UPA government, his lines were that the undeveloped border is always a safer border. So that was the legacy the Modi government inherited. So number two, you had the pandemic, you had the Galwan clash. Number three, you also had a semiconductor crisis. You had a prolonged standoff with China, but a semiconductor crisis meant countries had to start exploring if they could become self reliant in semiconductors, which sort of led to the whole weaponization of rare earth elements. And fortunately, Ladakh has rare earth element reserves. Are they commercially viable? Is the mining commercially viable? That is all being explored right now. But Ladakh has deposits of rare earth elements, which are critical to our manufacturing industry, not immediately, but 10, 20, 30 years from now. Ladakh also has deposits of uranium and thorium, better deposits than we find in the rest of India. So that's also a question, right? So a lot of things changed. You had the Indus Water Treaty going into abeyance earlier this year, and Indus flows through Ladakh. Tomorrow, if the government has to consider a hydro power structure in Ladakh, we don't know if they will, but I'm saying 10 years from now, 20 years from now, that equation has also changed. So a lot of things have changed in 2019, which sort of do not make it viable that we start considering Schedule 6 for Ladakh even now. You look at the BRO. The BRO has been working overtime just to push critical projects through Ladakh. We are talking about, some of the key points, Dollar Bay Goldie, the road to Pengong. So we are talking about Hanle, the roads to Hanle, the highest motorable pass, many such critical infrastructure projects. They all are running now on full hyperdrive mode. And this all happened after 2019. So, people have to understand that the entire dynamic of Ladakh has changed after that Galwan clash. And we need to build. Now, the Schedule 6 says that there will be autonomous district councils, and that will result in a lot of acquisition problems. However, the state government or the center can overrule the ADCs when it comes to land for public purpose use. So your tunnels and your roads for the military, that won't be much of a problem. Even though you might see some bit of resistance, but that will be worked out as it has been working out in the Northeast. The problem is, what if tomorrow corporates want to go there and start mining for rare earth elements of uranium and thorium? What if? 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 5 years from now, I don't know when, but what if they want to? And Ladakh is huge. It's huge. It's not like we are going to displace people. It's not like with a population density of Mumbai or Delhi. That's 5 people per square kilometer. 5. I'm repeating myself because I don't want people to think I'm making a mistake here. It's 5 people per square kilometer. And outside Leh, the population is very, very scattered. And it's not like the center only wants Ladakh for the mining part or the, infrastructure part. I remember in 2023, I was in Pengongso, and there is a village near it. I forget its name. It starts with P. They had the Jal Jeevan mission there. They had special pipes dug 6 feet below the ground, below the freezing levels where the water doesn't freeze. And they ensured even the first village of India, right along Pengongso, gets water. That's how the government has worked in Ladakh. The ICBR project, Indo-China Border Roads, which was conceived in 1999, then went through a decade of delays. And then it was put into hyperdrive mode again post 2014. All those things have been going on. But there is one interesting thing that came across, and I'll just share it in a moment. But yeah, to answer everyone's question, it's what has changed since 2019? 370, the infrastructure push we need in Ladakh, the whole weaponization of rare earth elements, and the whole manufacturing push that we have given, which makes a lot of these elements very, very important.
So now let's focus on Wangchuk. Now I want to play a few of his clips for people to get like, what is this gentleman saying here?
साथियों, आपने देखा होगा कि आज तक के मेरे सारे अपडेट्स हिंदी भाषा में हैं। उसका एक कारण है, वो ये कि मैं नहीं चाहता कि भारत की ये अंदरूनी बात विदेशों तक पहुंचे और हमारे ये नेता देश के उनका अपमान हो अंतर्राष्ट्रीय मंच पर। वरना हमारे बहुत से समर्थक विदेशों में हैं, बहुत से नेटवर्क्स हैं जो हमारे समर्थन करना चाहते हैं, जैसे एशिया में मैक्सेसे अवार्ड फाउंडेशन है, जापान में कई फाउंडेशंस हैं, वैसे ही यूरोप में रोलेक्स अवार्ड फाउंडेशन है, नोबेल पीस प्राइज फाउंडेशन है, जहां मैंने एक बहुत बड़ा लेक्चर किया था, वैसे ही अमेरिका में, साउथ अमेरिका में। तो फिर भी हम उन्हें मदद के लिए अभी तक नहीं बोल रहे हैं, मगर अब क्योंकि इतने दिन हुए और हमें एक आवाज तक नहीं पहुंची, तो हम सोच रहे हैं कि कल से हम अपने सुबह का अपडेट अंग्रेजी भाषा में करें, ताकि अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पे भी लद्दाख के, हिमालय के पर्यावरण का क्या हो रहा है उसके बारे में ज्ञात हो और उनका भी समर्थन।
Very milquetoast statement, to be very honest. He's just saying, now I will take their support, to be very honest. Other than.
And this was last year during the climate fast. There are a lot of clips. One of the clips, which was a very problematic one, was where he talks about a potential, not a possible, a potential mutiny in the military. He talks about the demoralized, uh, soldiers in Ladakh. That was very problematic.
You're talking about the Ladakh Scouts.
Ladakh Scouts.
Let's play that. Let's play that.
Hmm.
I think you're talking about this one.
इस तरह लद्दाख की जनता जो हर युद्ध में काम आई है और फिर इतने सारे भूतपूर्व सैनिकों का मन दुखाना, ये भारत की सुरक्षा के लिए भी अच्छा ना होगा। इस तरह लद्दाख की जनता जो हर युद्ध में काम आई।
This trope is not new. This is played in Punjab a lot of times. This is played in Punjab a lot of times. So anybody who knows Punjab will be like, been there, done that, kind of a thing. So and he also had a problem with the Agniveer program, right?
Yeah, I have just shared that clip. I tweeted this more than a year ago. Actually, it's been almost 18 months. And at that time, that was the time his climate fast was on. And the problem with Sonam Wangchuk is he's a megalomaniac. When he starts speaking, he goes into this philosophical sort of a trance and he doesn't realize what he's saying. But he ends up saying a lot. So last year, when the first video you're going to play, it went a bit viral. It was even in the mainstream media for a couple of days. And then he sort of toned it down a little. But the cat was, was out for everyone to see. Everyone knew what this person is all about. And look at his ideas. I mean, if you can play that video, the video is self-explanatory in a way.
आपको पता है, मेरे ख्याल से तो आज भारत के इस सीमा पर हमारे सैनिक सबसे कमजोर स्थिति में हैं, क्योंकि यहाँ पर सबसे बड़े लड़ाकू माने जाते हैं लद्दाख स्काउट्स, सिख रेजिमेंट्स और गुरखा रेजिमेंट्स। आज लद्दाख के सैनिकों का मनोबल टूटा है, ठेस पहुंचा है, क्योंकि लद्दाख को न लोकतंत्र दिया गया है, न संरक्षण। और दूसरी तरफ सिख सैनिकों का मनोबल भी कमजोर है, क्योंकि जो पंजाब में आंदोलन हो रहे हैं उसका असर उन पे भी पड़ता है। और गुरखा सैनिक तो अग्निवीर के चलते 4 साल को वो नकार रहे हैं, और वो अब उससे भी बुरा क्या हो रहा है कि चीन की सेना में भर्ती होने जा रहे हैं। तो वही सैनिक जो हमारे शक्ति थी, जिनके बारे में ये कहा जाता है कि अगर कोई कहे कि मुझे मरने से डर नहीं लगता, तो वो या तो झूठ बोल रहा है या वो गुरखा है। आज वही गुरखा चीन की तरफ से हमसे लड़ेंगे। तो ऐसा उथल पुथल हो रहा है, मगर हमारी मेन स्ट्रीम मीडिया जरा भी चर्चा नहीं कर रही है।
Interesting. They always find all the interesting bits and they all weave it together. It's very interesting.
There's another one from
this is the best one. I love this clip. बहुत बढ़िया आदमी है। इसके ऊपर ही पिक्चर बनाई थी ना आमिर खान ने?
Roughly, I think it was, but
the Indian left and Bollywood can always be counted on to make the most chutiya text things. But ठीक है.
Yesterday was very special. This doesn't happen usually, but yesterday, not only this man came and delivered this letter, another gentleman came who introduced himself as an officer in one of the central agencies for investigation. I won't name the agency. He very much gave the name. And he said he was a great supporter of my work. He was very passionately supporting our work. And then finally, before leaving, he said something very important, which connects to this. He said, these days, you should take very good care of your health because of the fast. But not only that, you should take very good care of your safety and your life. And he gave examples. He said, anything can happen these days. You never know. You could be going home in the evenings, or you could be traveling out of Ladakh, and there could be accidents arranged, and there is risk to your life. And you must, he said, take 1 or 2 people always with you. Never travel alone in a car. Now, I really am not afraid of dying. I think actually that could be one of the best things to happen to me and to happen to the nation, this country, where I feel people are sleeping, and it could wake them out of their slumber. If something happens to my life, they could perhaps see how this country is being run and what needs to be done by every citizen to save this nation. I would be happiest to die in such a way. In fact, my biggest fear is of dying in bed of some sickness or inaction and old age. This will be the biggest gift they could give. And sometimes deaths can actually spark revolutions, and that would be the best thing to happen to me. तो देश के लिए जिंदगी तो दे चुके हम, अब जान देरी की बारी है और इसका हमें इंतजार रहेगा. Stay tuned and keep
Why I played
Hey,
this
the last
before-
part. They play that. The interesting part comes in the end, actually at the end.
Okay.
following to see what happens to this man, and keep ready for a revolution if it takes that.
This man, third person, very interesting. So,
And
no,
the
why I
second clip
played
in
this
between.
before the other one, there is a reason.
Huh.
The context changes now. जब ये क्लिप के बाद ये वाली बजाएंगे ना, तो असली कॉन्टेक्स्ट समझ.
Fair point.
समझा? इसके लिए मैंने ये पहले नहीं बजाई. अभी ये
यहाँ के एक फेमस कॉमेडियन हैं जिन्होंने कहा कि जब चीन घुस आता है तो लद्दाख के लोग जान देकर रोकते हैं, मगर अब अगर भारत सरकार हमारे लिए कुछ नहीं कर रहा है तो अगली बार वो आए तो हम उनको रास्ता दिखाएंगे, हम रोकेंगे नहीं. हम जान क्यों दे जब हमारा कोई संरक्षण नहीं हो रहा है. और उसके बाद उन पर पुलिस की पूछताछ होने लगी, ये कैसे कहा है. मेरा तो ख्याल है कि दूत को मारने से, डोंट किल द मैसेंजर कहते हैं ना, सॉल्व द प्रॉब्लम. उनका तो फ्रस्ट्रेशन निकल रहा है, आप समस्या का हल करें तो बेहतर होगा. तो सरकार को इन सब बातों का सीरियस नोट बहुत गंभीरता से लेनी चाहिए. लद्दाख के लोगों में एलियनेशन और फ्रस्ट्रेशन आना भारत के लिए अच्छी बात नहीं है. वो कहते हैं ना, रहीमन तागा प्रेम का ना तोड़ो चटकाए, टूटे से फिर ना जुड़े, जुड़े गांठ ही पड़ जाए. एक बार टूट गया तो फिर उसमें गांठ पड़ी की पड़ी रह जाएगी. तो इन सब बातों को देखते हुए अगली बार किसी युद्ध में लोगों में जज्बा कम दिखे, वो स्वयं सेवक बन के न निकलें, तो इसका जिम्मेदार सरकार खुद होगी.
Now, remember, all this was said when we were in a prolonged standoff with China. This is all post 2020 Galwan. I've seen all his videos on YouTube, okay? And one recurring theme in his videos is Ladakh Scouts, which is the mountain infantry regiment of the Indian Army. ये बार बार कहता है कि हमारे यहाँ लद्दाख स्काउट्स हैं, either they are demoralized, either they are looking at what's going on, and either they feel that the center is not listening to them and they are the first line of defense in Ladakh. What if China invades? You know, that's a recurring theme in his entire video. And that is where my problem is. Who is he trying to give a threat? Is he trying to say that people in the Ladakh Scouts or soldiers in the Ladakh Scouts, they can actually go against the Indian state? No, they won't. But this is what he's trying to imply in his videos. So when the government says he makes provocative speeches, this is what I'm talking about. And this is all from his YouTube channel, his own YouTube channel with millions of views. It's not from any mainstream media channel, not some any interview he did with any other channel, nothing. Today he did an interview with Barkha Dutt and he was talking about corporates coming into Ladakh and taking away land pastures. He's saying वहां पर 150 square के problem ये है कि आप क्यों नहीं ले सकते? Why should any corporate not be investing in Ladakh? You tell me.
Exactly. What is the big deal? Like, See, this socialist utopian bullshit that this country is built on. Somebody needs to get over this bullshit. Corporates are not evil people. You regulate them, you control them, you keep them accountable, you have a functioning law and order machinery. Corporates are not evil.
No, people need to visit Ladakh. When you will not find one public utility, forget a washroom, one public utility, probably a tuck shop to buy a bottle of water for 7 hours, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Ladakh needs development. The people of Ladakh need development, and more importantly, it's a border state. While our neighbor on the other side is building at a rapid pace, we are here sitting discussing, oh, what is good for the environment and what is not. What kind of foolishness is that? And why is this environmentalism only coming in the last 2-3 years after Galwan has happened? Himalayas सिर्फ लद्दाख में तो है नहीं. He says save the Himalayas. Himalayas are not only in Ladakh, they are also in Pakistan, they are also in China, they are also in Northeast, they are everywhere. ये पूरे हिमालयस का ठेका ले लेगा क्या भाई?
नहीं, और ये बेसिकली इनको प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि इंडिया अपने स्ट्रेटेजिक इंटरेस्ट के बारे में कभी देखे नहीं. नेशनल सिक्योरिटी मैटर करती नहीं है. ये लोगों का बस चले इंडिया को 5,000 टुकड़ों में बांट देंगे, पागल उल्लू के पट्टे. ये लोगों को पता नहीं क्या शौक है. एंड लेट्स टॉक अबाउट दैट. सो लेट्स स्टार्ट विद दिस. सो व्हाई व्हाट आर वी टॉकिंग अबाउट हियर in this image?
One shout out to the folks at Info and Data. They keep churning out these good graphics. Now look at the map of Ladakh you have in front. You have Indus, which probably will see some sort of a project in the coming decade, given how we are going about the Indus Water Treaty. You look at the connectivity from Kargil to Leh to Pangong Tso. That's one part. You go to a bit south, you have Hanle. Over there, we have some interests. It's one of the biggest observatories in India. You go north towards Siachen. This is going to require very big infrastructure push. If the private sector also chips in, I don't see any harm in it. The population is concentrated around Leh in the middle. Zangla, Siachen. I mean, if you exclude the military presence, you look at the Shiok River flow where it's going through, you look at as far as Umingla Pass, the population density is very minimal, very, very minimal, less than even Arunachal Pradesh for that matter. You have to look at all these factors. Now, you tell me, Kushal, if we start building a hydropower project tomorrow, and for people, because we discussed this in one of our previous podcasts, Indus gets the major share, Indus is what runs Pakistan. Even if we block Chenab and Jhelum tomorrow through some hydropower projects, it's Indus that practically runs Pakistan. So 10 years from now, if the government really becomes, serious about having a big hydropower project today there, like the Chinese are interested in their part of Brahmaputra, you never know. Will the same people again stand up?
Yeah, and let's
My
not
problem-
share this. ये भी इसके बारे में भी बता.
So one anecdote, and when I went for my presentation with the BRO folks, they showed me a vision map of Ladakh 2030. And it wasn't public, of course, but what it said was that they need more roads and more tunnels. The problem today is that if you have to go from Leh to Pangong, so forget ammunition movement. Infantry movement will take 8 hours. Now, assuming there is a battle, that's not a good idea to live with, right? So you have to go for tunnels, strategic tunnel construction. That will require a lot of mining. That will require sort of disturbing the local ecology to some extent, very localized ecology. Now you look at the red dots, that are the tunnels that are already active since 2014. The orange ones are the ones under construction, but the blue ones are which are important. These are the ones which are in exploration stages, proposal stages, surveying stages. These are the ones that will really transform Ladakh in the coming years. And you have more strategic tunnels, you'll have more economy, you'll have more tourism. My problem is, even today, people in the mainstream media, when they think of Ladakh, they think of some very far distant place that has a tribal population, that has some military presence, and it's not very necessary when it comes to our strategic interests. This is that same mentality of 1960 that we continue to harbor in the media space. I'm saying, why can't we mainstream tourism until the Pangong Tso River, the Pangong Tso Lake? Why not? Why shouldn't we mainstream tourism around Hanle or even up till Siachen? Why not? What is so wrong about it? Rajasthan has a desert. Did we stop building there? I mean, Rajasthan has a big desert there. Did we stop building there? Northeast has enough flora and fauna. Did we stop building there? Kashmir has enough flora and fauna until the LOC. Did we stop building there? So why is it special for Ladakh? Who are these people who do not want India to build in Ladakh? Why have all these protests started only after the Prime Minister said, no, BRO is important, border infrastructure is important, tunnels are important? I think the question answers itself.
So Dhruv Rathi says, it's very important, he's the most important person on planet Earth. Sonam Wangchuk has done more good things for India than all BJP leaders combined. I can say this with a little bit of responsibility, that how much the Prime Minister of India has done, whether he's a Congress or a BJP Prime Minister. I repeat, whether it is a Congress or a BJP Prime Minister. Sonam Wangchuk will take 5,000 lifetimes to achieve anything of that sort. Sonam Wangchuk has not even done what a municipal councillor has done for India. Forget what the BJP leadership has done. Whether you are when you are an elected representative, Dhruv, let me tell you something. As someone who has worked with elected representatives for a long time of his life, yes, there is corruption everywhere, Dhruv. But India may be a flawed democracy, but it is a democracy. I have seen regular people calling MPs in the middle of the night and giving it to them left, right, and center. There are gundas who enter the parliament, and people are scared of them, but not everyone is a gunda. And even the gundas are held accountable eventually. People can throw them out after 5 years. So to make such ridiculous statements like what has he done, stuff like that is ridiculous. And the second bit, this is where I had quoted Dhruv Rathi. It's very important because this is my advice to Dhruv Rathi. So Dhruv Rathi had said, ignore non-violent peaceful protests for 6+ years. As soon as some protesters turn violent, call them CIA funded, Chinese funded, defame the whole movement, divert attention from genuine demands. This is the real toolkit. This is my sincere advice to you, Dhruv. कुछ चीजें तुम्हारी औकात के बाहर होती हैं. मोदी को गाली दो, उसमें अच्छा पैसा है ध्रुव. इन चीजों में मत पड़ो. तुम तो रहते भी नहीं हो भारत में. कमेंट्री करो, भारत के ऊपर कमेंट्री करो, किसी भी देश पे कमेंट्री करो. नेशनल सिक्योरिटी के इश्यूज में संभल के बात करो. बिकॉज अगर नेशनल सिक्योरिटी ही नहीं रही तो डेमोक्रेसी ही नहीं रहेगी. मेरा काम है नसीहत देना, बाकी तुम्हारी मर्जी.
एक चीज और है, आप कई लोग कहेंगे बना दो ऑटोनॉमस डिस्ट्रिक्ट काउंसिल, शेड्यूल 6 कर दो, क्या जाएगा. You will then have a region perpetually in conflict even with the military. आज सरकार कहेगी हमें टनल बनाना है, लैंड एक्विजिशन हो जाएगा. The law is such that even with schedule 6, if the land is for public or military purpose, the land acquisition won't be a problem. But you will have some tribal group with a Wangchuk like front saying no, we won't let it build, the mountain is something, ecology something, कुछ चलता रहेगा. ये तो you are creating you're opening a Pandora's box. You are making sure that the locals are perpetually in conflict with the military. And where did we see that for 70 years? In Kashmir. Why? Where is the rationale? अच्छा, दूसरी चीज, there is a tribal population, I won't deny that. But look at the size of Ladakh. मैं बार बार सबको यही कह रहा हूँ, तुम एक बार जाके मैप देखो. बहुत अच्छे ब्लॉगर्स हैं यूट्यूब पे, इंडियन ब्लॉगर्स हैं, व्लॉगर्स. उन्होंने लद्दाख जाके बाइक पे इतने वो शूटिंग करा है, सब कुछ करा है, ड्रोन शॉट्स लिए. देखो, एक्सप्लोर लद्दाख. if you can't go there, explore it via YouTube at least. It's a massive, massive place. And are you telling me 3 lakh people there, they need to have a state? Ladakh doesn't have an economy to afford a state. Kya unki economy hai? Tourism? Can tourism run a state? Agriculture? Bare minimum. And that too vulnerable to the climate. What kind of statehood are we talking about here? So you're essentially talking about a state. Hypothetically, if Ladakh is made into a state, it's the center who will be giving all the funds. वो तो अभी भी हो रहा है ना यूटी के फॉर्म में. It's directly under the control of MHA. तो आपको जो ये स्टेटहुड करना है, आपको असेंबली चाहिए 3 लाख लोगों में, आपको वो पॉलिटिकल बकैती करनी है. आप खुलेआम टीवी इंटरव्यूज में बोल रहे हो मुझे डेवलपमेंट से प्रॉब्लम है, मुझे हिमालयस बचाने हैं, मुझे कंज्यूमरिज्म से प्रॉब्लम है. तो भाई तुझे कंज्यूमरिज्म से प्रॉब्लम है तो अपने घर में बैठ कमरे में खुद को लॉक कर. Who made you the messiah of the entire population of Ladakh? That's my problem, and that is the question media should be asking him. I told one of the interviews I know in the media, I just asked her, I was like, just ask this man the question, what kind of ecology is trying to? ना वहाँ बारिश होती है, ना वहाँ ऐसे फसल उगती है कि भाई बहुत कुछ नुकसान हो जाएगा. रेगिस्तान है जहां मीलों मीलों तक कई बार लोग भी नहीं दिखते. ठीक है, तो Schedule 6 तो has to be out of the question. I think for the foreseeable future, statehood they can't afford. So what are they really demanding? They had a fair demand, a legitimate demand in asking for a UT status because they felt they were being discriminated against. They have it. But I also have a problem with people who are saying Ladakh is the new Manipur. No. Let's be very careful.
Let's play that clip.
Toolkit चल रही थी. हाँ,
Let's play that clip.
चला दो. कांग्रेस की बहुत बोल रहे थे.
Let's play that clip. I want to play that clip because I find it very peculiar that this girl has made this analogy. I only remember this girl from her Kashmir visit where she was criticized by Islamists. That's all I know. Let's play the Archana Tiwari clip.
3 लाख पॉपुलेशन वाला लद्दाख आज चल रहा है. 4 लोगों की मौत हो चुकी, 60 से ज्यादा लोग घायल, और जिन प्रोटेस्टर्स ने इस प्रोटेस्ट में हिस्सा लिया होगा उनकी जिंदगी यहाँ पूरी तरीके से तहस नहस ही समझ. आज इस प्रोटेस्ट को नेपाल के जेनजी प्रोटेस्ट के साथ कंपेयर किया जा रहा है. ये जो मेरे पीछे आप जिनकी फोटो देख रहे हैं, इनके लिए इंटरनेट पे 2 धारणाएं हैं. पहली धारणा एंटी नेशनल और दूसरी धारणा लद्दाख की लोकल आवाज. जो इनको एंटी नेशनल कह रहे हैं, मैं उन लोगों के सामने 2 बातें रखना चाहती हूँ. जब ये व्यक्ति पाकिस्तान में जाके कॉन्फ्रेंस कर रहे थे तब तो ये एंटी नेशनल हुए, लेकिन जब यही व्यक्ति चाइना के खिलाफ भारत के साथ मिलकर आवाज उठा रहे थे तब आप इनको क्या कहेंगे. लेकिन अब मैं यहाँ पर थोड़ी मुद्दे की बात करना चाहती हूँ. लद्दाख पिछले 6 साल से एक प्रोटेस्ट कर रहा था. लद्दाख पूछ रहा था कि 5 साल पहले आपने हमसे वादा किया था चुनाव के टाइम पे कि आप हम लोगों को 6 शेड्यूल में शामिल करेंगे, फिर आपने आज तक किया क्यों नहीं. इस बात को भी हमें याद रखना चाहिए कि अगर यूपी में कुछ बवाल होता है तो उसको कंट्रोल कई हद तक आप कर सकते हो, लेकिन अगर बॉर्डर स्टेट्स के अंदर कोई बवाल होता है, फॉर एग्जांपल आप अगर मणिपुर का आप हाल ले लें, तो मणिपुर आज तक उसकी सिचुएशन ठीक नहीं हो पाई है क्योंकि वहां पे कुछ एंटी नेशनल फोर्सेस होते हैं. जब आप अपने देश के लोगों के ऊपर ध्यान नहीं देंगे तब दूसरे देश जो है उनके कंधे पे हाथ रखने को तैयार खड़े हैं. वहां पे रह रहे लोगों के अंदर सेंस ऑफ बिलोंगिंगनेस की बात को बढ़ाना जरूरी है. उनको ये बताना जरूरी है कि आप भारत का ही हिस्सा हो. सिर्फ रिबन काटने से, बड़ी बड़ी बातें करने से आप उनके अंदर सेंस ऑफ बिलोंगिंगनेस की भावना को नहीं बढ़ा सकते. आज ये जो लद्दाख के अंदर हो रहा है, ये 6 साल से चल रहा प्रोटेस्ट का नतीजा भी हो सकता है. और सोनम वांगचुक को आप लोग जो एंटी नेशनल कह रहे हैं, मैं उन्हीं लोगों की तरफ से ये बात कहना चाहती हूँ कि सोनम वांगचुक जैसे लोग बॉर्डर स्टेट में बहुत ज्यादा है. मैंने खुद मणिपुर में जाके कवर किया है और मैं इस बात की गंभीरता को समझती हूँ कि ये जो लद्दाख के अंदर आज जो ये परिस्थिति बनी है, ये एक अलार्मिंग सिचुएशन है. जब 1983 में जब चुनाव हो रहे थे तो इंदिरा गांधी जी ने आसाम के अंदर जाके कहा था और चुनाव का अनाउंसमेंट कर दिया था, डिस्पाइट इसके कि वहां पे 5000 प्रोटेस्टर्स की मौत हो चुकी थी. वहां के लोग कह रहे थे कि जब तक आप इलीगल बांग्लादेशी माइग्रेंट्स को हमारे स्टेट से नहीं भेजेंगे, हम अपने स्टेट में चुनाव नहीं होने देंगे. लेकिन उसके बावजूद दिल्ली ने आसाम के अंदर चुनाव करवाया. 1983 का जो चुनाव है वो आज तक सबसे कॉन्ट्रोवर्शियल चुनाव माना जाता है. लेकिन लास्ट में मैं एक सवाल पूछना चाहती हूँ, ये जो 4 लोग मरे, 60 से ज्यादा लोग घायल हुए, जिन प्रोटेस्टर्स की जिंदगी बर्बाद हुई, इनकी अकाउंटेबिलिटी किसकी होगी? क्या सोनम वांगचुक को गिरफ्तार करके उनको जेल में बंद करके क्या मामला यहीं ठंडा हो जाएगा? और ये जो 6 साल से प्रोटेस्ट चल रहा था, आम लद्दाखी अपने हक की मांग कर रहा था, उसकी मांगों को क्यों नहीं सुना जा रहा था? 5 साल पहले जो वादा किया गया उसको पूरा टाइम पर क्यों नहीं किया गया?
So what exactly
जिंदगी
were
में
you?
जिंदगी में एक किताब नहीं खोली इस महिला ने, एक अखबार नहीं खोला. आई हेट टू पुट इट दिस वे. आई इवन रिप्लाइड टू हर. आई कोट ट्वीटेड हर वीडियो आल्सो. एक तो ना, आई हैव टू से दिस, यूट्यूबर्स across the political spectrum, right and left, right, they have a problem. They want to outrage every single day on something. It is like a drug, you know. Okay,
It's a
there is an
business
issue,
model.
I need to it's a business model. It's a business model. It's money. This doesn't mean facts. This woman is saying बॉर्डर स्टेट्स में कुछ हो सकता है, उत्तर प्रदेश में तो आप कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं, बॉर्डर स्टेट्स में क्या करेंगे? अरे भाई, उत्तर प्रदेश की भी बॉर्डर है नेपाल के साथ, पहली चीज. दूसरी चीज, इनका पहला सेंटेंस था लद्दाख जल रहा है, ले में प्रोटेस्ट हो रहा है, लद्दाख बहुत बड़ा है, पर एग्जैजरेशन फ्रॉम द वर्ड. तीसरी चीज, 6 साल से डिमांड करें, आपने उन डिमांड्स को पढ़ा? उनका कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस क्या होगा आपने उसको समझा? नहीं. आपने 3 मिनट का एक रेटोरिक बना दिया. आपने कह दिया बॉर्डर एरियाज में बहुत सारे सोनम वांगचुक हैं, एक और आपसे ढूंढा नहीं गया. आप छोड़िए 10 और लोग. यू टेल मी 5 more सोनम वांगचुक्स you know? Nothing. Just rhetoric, meaningless, mindless, stupid rhetoric. And this is the problem with such YouTubers. They'll never get into serious research. They have the credibility of a broken peanut. And Manipur की बात फिर से. Manipur में there were 2 groups warring against each other. The state was trying to control that. Over here, it's a protest. It's a protest by one single man making demands that the state is already discussing with the actual representatives there. Ladakh and Manipur have absolutely nothing in common except the fact that they're border states. That's it. Nothing in common. बट एक कल रात से टूल किट देखे कि मणिपुर जल रहा है, अब लद्दाख में भी ये दिक्कत हो रही है, उत्तराखंड में प्रोटेस्ट हो रहा है. एक चीज हमें समझनी पड़ेगी, कुशल, एंड आई कीप ब्रिंगिंग अप दिस पॉइंट. What we see Gen Z, what the Gen Z contextualization is since the last month, a revolution in India, which will not happen. The state capacity is formidable, but for the sake of narrative, any disturbance in India would be 1% action and 99% narrative building. That is what happened during the farmers' protest. That is what happened during Shaheen Bagh. There will be 10 people camping somewhere, and someone will just write an article in the New York Times saying, oh, 10,000 people have come out in support of a legislation that they consider dictatorial. You remember the CNN headline from the farmer protest day? They had said 250 million farmers are there for the protest. 250 bloody million. We are a country of 1.5 billion people. They assumed that 20% of our population was protesting on a national highway at a stretch of 3 kilometers. But it works with the gullible audience. If a video like the one you just played works with the gullible audience, such headlines will also work with the gullible audience. And this is where the government has to be very, very alert. Any action, any attempt by external enemies, it would be just 1% action. It might be just 15 people on the ground, maybe 100. But how it is communicated, how it is narrated to the people in India and to people outside India, that is what is going to make the story. It's an age of social media. You just need 3-4 visuals. You just need 3-4 visuals and you're done. I'm not questioning the state capacity here. The state capacity is formidable. They'll get everything under control. The chaos will never be allowed to go beyond a certain point, as we saw in Shaheen Bagh and the farmers' protest. That part we know. It's not about the state capacity here. It's about the ability of the people who want to create trouble and how they narrate that tale, how they fictionize that tale for the outside world. That's what we need to understand.
Now, there are 4 or 5 points that need to be broken down that you have mentioned. As far as the state capacity is concerned, that's why I said what I said. Listen, if the state cracks down, best of luck. That's all I can say. But the state always believes in giving people a lot of leverage. The state, by nature, in democracies, the state gives into a lot of things. These things should not be talked about publicly because it's not worth talking about publicly. completely. Some things are done by the state, let the state do it. And honestly, most of these things are beyond the pay grade of YouTubers. So YouTubers don't need to know. मतलब जो चीज इनकी औकात के बाहर है, इनको इसके बारे में नहीं बोलना चाहिए. एंड ऑनेस्टली नेशनल सिक्योरिटी इश्यूज में बहुत अक्ल लगा के बोलना चाहिए. And now I'm going to talk about something very sensitive. See, I did not start YouTube because I wanted to build a career. I started YouTube because I just started it time pass ke liye. People still don't understand this is not my bread and butter. I am an investor. I work, invest in markets, and I am a public intellectual now, and I do this as my passion now. It's my dedication. This is what drives me. I made my money, whatever I need. I am not Ambani, but I don't want to be Ambani. I'm not ambitious like that. But I understand this industry very well now. Right now, because I don't want to share the news, like I get emails every second day. You reach 100,000 subscribers, you get emails every second day. ये है, आप अपना प्राइस बता दीजिए, ये वीडियो बनाना है. And I'm telling you very straight up, everybody does it in this industry. आप जिनको भी अपना हीरो समझते हो, वो सब लोग कर रहे हैं ये. मैं आपको बहुत साफ शब्दों में कह रहा हूँ, आप लोगों को ये बहुत दर्द होता होगा सुन के, मगर आपके सारे हीरोज ये करते हैं और हीरोइंस ये करते हैं. ये बस ऐसे ही है. और इस पूरे प्रोसेस को डिफरेंट गवर्नमेंट्स डिफरेंट तरीकों से एक्सप्लॉइट करती हैं. एक्सप्लॉइटेशन ओवर्ट होती है, एक्सप्लॉइटेशन कोवर्ट होती है. एक्सप्लॉइटेशन इन योर फेस होती है, एक्सप्लॉइटेशन स्लाई वे में होती है. स्लाई एक्सप्लॉइटेशन जैसे ये पैम्फलेट ने दिखाई है, आलोक ने ट्वीट की थी. शेड्यूल 6 के ऊपर पूरी डॉक्यूमेंट्री बनाना, यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ मिशिगन का इन्वॉल्व होना, ये स्लाई वे में होती है चीजें. ठीक है, अभी नाम देखो, लुक एट द नेम्स हियर. वैसे मोहक मंगल का भी नाम है इसमें, करुणा नंदी है, सब लोग हैं. नाम देखो, ये देखो, मेरा काम है आप लोगों को बताना, बाकी क्या करना क्या नहीं करना. ना मैं इनको एंटी नेशनल बोल रहा हूँ. समटाइम्स पीपल आर यूजफुल इडियट्स. दे आर जस्ट, ये उनका बिजनेस मॉडल है. मैं बहुत आपसे कड़वी बात कर रहा हूँ. ये बेसिकली ये मतलब बिजनेस मॉडल होते हैं कि भाई हमारे को तो हमारा घर चलाना है, हमारी 25 लोगों की टीम है, हमारी 100 लोगों की टीम है, हमारी फलाने लोगों की टीम है, हमारी ढिमका लोगों की टीम है. अब why don't people talk about Rebecca Norman and her investments? Again, Alok has shared it. Good, I'm glad Alok ने भी ये पकड़ी ये बात. The article provides a background to the work of Sonam and his wife Rebecca Norman in details of everyday life and work. ये क्लियरली लिखा हुआ, ये सब चीजें हैं. अभी रेबेका नॉर्मन कौन है, ये जाके स्टडी करो. ये सब चीजें देखो, ये सब इन्वेस्टमेंट्स होती हैं. अपने आप से ये प्रश्न पूछना चाहिए कि ये इन्वेस्टमेंट्स होती. देखो, इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि सोनम वांगचुक एंटी नेशनल होगा. इसका ये मतलब है वो भी हो सकता है वो यूजफुल इडियट हो. क्या होता है कि कुछ लोगों की पर्सनालिटी टाइप होती है और वो लोग बहुत इजीली एक्सप्लॉइटेबल होते हैं. होती है, क्या करें. और ये दिस इज पार्ट ऑफ लाइफ. बट माय एडवाइस एज अ जेन्युइन वेल विशर ऑफ यूट्यूबर्स इज कि देखो, पैसा कमाने के बहुत तरीके होते हैं. यार तुम करो ना, मतलब वो लॉलीपॉप वाला वीडियो और ऐसे सब वीडियो. काय को नेशनल सिक्योरिटी के फचड़ों में पड़ते हो. देयर आर सो मेनी ग्राउंड्स टू प्ले. अरे जाओ, पैसा लो किसी से, कोई सीईओ से, कोई इंश्योरेंस कंपनी वाले से, कोई म्यूचुअल फंड वाले से. देखो, मैं सारी बातें कितना प्यार से समझा रहा हूँ. लो ना उन सीईओ से जो पैसा देते हैं, पॉडकास्ट पे आते हैं, इंटरव्यू करते हैं और बताते हैं अपनी जर्नी, कैसे वो बहुत बड़े हो गए. क्यों ये पछड़ों में पड़ते हो? मेरे को समझ में नहीं आता क्यों पढ़ते हैं. वे पछड़ों में नहीं पढ़ना चाहिए. आपको पढ़ोगे ना, तो देन व्हेन यू फक अराउंड, eventually you will find out, and when you will find out, you will not like it.
Also, anyone challenging the capacity of the state, we played a lot of Wangchuk clips, are all over Twitter. If you're going to say that हमारे यहाँ सेना कमजोर स्थिति में है and stuff like that, I mean, don't challenge the state. do your activism, exercise your freedom of speech, do all of that. That's your constitutional right. It's not a favor. But do not challenge the state, not on national security issues.
That's the
I
only
mean,
line.
people, a lot of journalists, they write very heroic tales about farmer protests. Dekho, sarkar chukati hai, wo. The people who were involved in any sort of arsoning or violence, they're still pretty much doing the rounds of the police station. A case is being sort of pursued against them. Always remember and understand this.
Some
The
are
law
dead,
might be
unfortunately.
inefficient. No, the law in India, it works. It works very slowly. That's the problem, but it works. So if you're thinking that you'll get down on the road for a revolution because some YouTuber told you something about how the world works, that's just downright stupidity. Okay? Look at what China is building in its Himalayan region. Look at what Pakistan has illegally built in POK. We were fools as a nation. We were fools.
तो ये बात कर रहा है, ये भी बंदे ने बोला कि वो क्लाइमेट चेंज वाला लगाओ यार, डूड वाज प्लेजिंग पाकिस्तान, जाहिलों ने इंडस रिवर डॉल्फिन्स खत्म कर दिए और ये उनको प्रेज कर रहा था.
अरे एक वीडियो में तो he was making an absurd analogy with भगवान राम also. बहुत कुछ था. अच्छा, पाकिस्तान क्लाइमेट कॉन्फ्रेंस के लिए जा रहा है. मतलब he went to Pakistan for a climate conference. मतलब that's like me going in Afghanistan to explore infrastructure possibilities.
Every Indian that goes to Pakistan who is popular has an ISI ka tattoo right up his ass. Ask anyone who's gone to Pakistan.
Yeah. So now I think the future for him is bleak. He's been arrested under NSA. That's what the reports say. At this point, he is under arrest. I think he'll be moved out of Ladakh also very soon, or probably might have been moved out already. But एक क्वेश्चन कल कुछ लोग पूछ रहे थे, कुछ कश्मीरी लिख रहे थे बात. कहते शर्जील इमाम ने कहा कि हम नॉर्थ ईस्ट को अलग कर देंगे, हम चक्का जाम कर देंगे चिकन नेक पे, तो आपने उसको अरेस्ट कर दिया, जेल में है, ठीक है. आप इसको क्यों नहीं कर रहे? ये भी तो ऐसी बातें कर रहे हैं. He is implying at least one of it. The law is equal for everyone. This is for those people who think that law is differentiating between people of religion. अभी कुछ दिन पहले वो एक ब्लॉगर था, कहाँ बैठा था वो, आयरलैंड में, स्वीडन में, आई डोंट नो कहाँ था, यूपी का. वो कह रहा था नेपाल के बाद अब इंडिया की बारी है. A case was slapped against him also, as per media reports. So again, understand the kind of demands he's making. Understand what has changed in the last 5 years. Understand why we can't fulfill those demands purely and purely from a mining and corporate interest, and those things matter. Okay. Understand how big Ladakh is and what kind of a threat we are tackling from China and from Pakistan, say in Kargil and in Leh and Ladakh. Understand all this. Environmentalism in a cold, barren desert, that should have been your first hint that something is wrong. पहाड़ सिर्फ हमारे देश में नहीं है, दुनिया में बहुत देशों में पहाड़ होते हैं. जहां पहाड़ नहीं होते हैं वहां फॉरेस्ट होते हैं, जहां फॉरेस्ट नहीं होते हैं वहां ओशन बॉडीज होती हैं. एवरीवन हैज एन इकोलॉजी टू बैलेंस विद डेवलपमेंट. इट डजंट मीन दे स्टार्ट गोइंग द गांधीयन वे कि हम कुछ कंज्यूम नहीं करेंगे, हम कुछ नहीं करेंगे, हम जैसे हैं वैसे रहेंगे. आवर एनिमीज डोंट फंक्शन लाइक दैट. व्हेन दे कम दे विल कम. सो वी नीड टू प्रिपेयर ourselves. 2020 was a lesson in that direction. We have to shake off this mentality, and I'm glad the government has shaken off that mentality of not building on the borders. They're building. And we just showed you that graphic from Info and Data, that how many strategic tunnels are actually being proposed. And why these tunnels are important, they'll cut down travel time from 8 hours to somewhere 3 hours. I'll tell you, Kushal, interestingly, the long-term objective actually is to ensure that we can get from Leh to Pangong Tso around just 140, 150 odd, kilometers away in 3 hours. That's the long-term goal of the military because they need it for the logistics purpose. It makes sense. And people like Sonam Wangchuk say, no, we are Gandhians. We are against consumerism. Absolute bloody bullshit.
Then maybe this could be my last question to you before you go. I will take the rest of the comments. तो मुझे मालूम है तुझे जाना TV.
I have 3-4 minutes. I'll just
I understand not jumping the gun with someone who is protesting for RA in Mumbai. What Sonam was doing was way more than climate activism. He was provocative. State should have acted on him earlier. So here the criticism is, ये पहले क्यों नहीं किया भाई? इतना तक क्यों रुके?
दो चीजें हैं, एक तो स्टेट लंबी रोक देता है इंडिया में, अब ये अच्छी बात है बुरी बात
ये
है, डिबेट फॉर
मतलब मेरे को लगता है अच्छी बात है, हर आदमी का अपना मत है।
हाँ, अभी दूसरी बात ये, अभी लद्दाख की एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ने भी इसका कुछ लैंड अलॉटेड था फॉर हिज इंस्टीट्यूट, they also actually cited financial irregularities, the local administration that is, and that was on 12th September. I have shared a screenshot on my Twitter timeline. You can go check it out. You can verify it on from the news sources. So iska local administration ke sath bhi panga chal raha hai, but to answer your question, the government must have known what's going on. Last year with the climate fast he did, don't assume the government was caught napping. That is not the case. But this government likes giving a long rope, which from a legal perspective sometimes makes sense. Now let's see what happens with him.
So, I saw this screenshot, and this is very sensitive. I don't know if it's true or not. So if these allegations are true, this is like freaking alarming. So there's this handle on Twitter saying Suresh, at KOCHATTIL. He says, I posted this on 8th August this year, and within a few hours, the traitor Wangchuk sent his goons after me on social media. But my post worked, and with the support of others in Leh, we were able to get the government of India to pull the plug on his project. Now, a month later, the Wangchuk chap is exposed in front of the citizens of Bharat. His tweet was, Wangchuk reportedly threatened a journalist for exposing his Chinese connections. Wangchuk filed a case for defamation, alleging that he lost huge contracts from the Indian army because of the allegations that he is a Chinese agent. The journalist was reportedly threatened and forced to apologize, but Wangchuk is still demanding 5 crores from the journalist, requesting Rajnath Singh, ADGPI, and Defense Ministry India to order an investigation against Wangchuk. I don't know what the hell is happening here. All I know is, this shit is weird. I just find all of this shit to
just
be weird.
One thing before I leave, I think Ladakh has to be the most beautiful place I've ever seen, at least in India. And again, that is a subjective thing, of course. But the vastness of it, it's beautiful, it's breathtaking. I mean, given an opportunity, I would like to go to Pengongso every year, right? Or Hanle every year for that matter. So in all this chaos, in all this political bickering, and all that is going to play out over the next few days, please remember Ladakh is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place, and everyone must visit it once. But we also have to look at it from a strategic point of view. We have to be very practical in our approach, not be swayed by this rhetorical nonsense. That's all.
All right, fair enough. Tushar, I know you have to go. I'll take the rest of the comments and then I'll wrap up. Chaliya, take care. Have a good day. Bye. All right, the first was बचपन में मैं इसको भगवान समझता था, ये तो बोस डी का निकला। अरे भाई देखो, मैं कुछ नहीं बोल सकता। मैं तो ना कभी पहले किसी को भगवान मानता था, ना अभी किसी को भगवान मानता हूँ भी। आप क्या करते हो, मैं उसके बारे में कुछ नहीं कर सकता। BJP should think thoroughly before it makes any promises, because it delivers on most of its promises. People take it seriously, unlike other parties. So, matlab, your criticism is, why does BJP promise and deliver? How is that a criticism? Well, I don't understand. What is a political party supposed to do? A political party's job is to deliver on what it's promised, right? Like, how can this be a criticism, man? Get real. Like, ये criticism नहीं हो सकता यार. How can you be mad at someone for delivering? That's not fair. I think it's just not fair. Anyways, these were the only two that were left. I don't see any other questions. But before I wrap it up, I'll say this once again to everyone. There are sufficient ways of criticizing the government. I believe a lot of people thought that Sonam Wangchuk should have been cracked down on earlier. I don't think that was the right thing to do. I believe in a society, in a democracy, you have to have pressure walls, and the pressure has to be let to be released. And only when shit hits the roof should you actually use the hammer. That's my way of thinking. Now, somebody else might have a different way of thinking, and they might say, no, the pressure should be released less than this, and you should crack down before. We are happy to have a healthy disagreement on that. I believe letting Wangchuk speak was the better thing, and giving a person a long leash. Actually, sunlight is the best disinfectant. I have always believed in this old adage that when you let people speak, you actually let them expose themselves even more. In the age of social media lunacy, where people are, assuming that their views are the best thing since sliced bread, and that includes me. Um, it's better to let people speak, and then you have receipts. And but if you like, for future influencers, you should realize that I get you guys have, or girls have, bottom lines, and you guys have a life to live, but there are enough areas to play around. Like, don't end up being a useful idiot in an operation that might be very nefarious, is my only advice. A lot of times these influencers end up not even knowing what's happening to them. So be very careful what you wish for, because if and when the state apparatus decides that ab teri bari hai, you're not going to like what's coming. So be very careful about these things. you know and and yes, this point is very, very true. Any form of protest, whether genuine or not, gets hijacked at some point of time, often blurring the genuineness of the protest. Listen, I was part of India Against Corruption. Look what India Against Corruption became. I'm not, someone who is in the Breaking India Forces camp, but yeah. So we have to be very careful. Like, in the first 6 months of me joining India Against Corruption, it was so obvious to me that this organization is full of shit, like completely full of shit. And I left it. I immediately left them. So you have to have a functioning brain, is what I'm saying. अगर आपका दिमाग चल रहा होगा तो बेहतर होगा. So it is what it is. Anyways, I'll wrap it up over here. Once again, I want to take this opportunity to again remind all of you that why I cannot be taken advantage of by a lot of these nefarious elements is because I don't play that game. Why do I not play that game? Is because the truth matters. Somebody has to speak the truth. I know the dirty secrets of so many people in this so-called influencer industry. I just stay silent out of respect. And that's why most of them don't poke me beyond a point also, because they know agar maine khol diya muh to sare hi nange ho jayenge. So I took a call when I started this that I will not do these these paid podcasts, these sponsored videos, run ads for corporates. I will not do it. I've even criticized Jay Shah on my podcast on cricket, never getting any accreditation because of that. But I'm fine with it. I'm fine. It's okay. My house is not coming down crashing. But what you guys can do is become a member. If you become a member, you actually encourage me to become more like this. So whether on Patreon, whether on YouTube, whether through UPI, whether through Interac Canada, whether it's one-time donations or monthly memberships, whatever you guys can do, please do it. And if you can't do any of that, make sure at least you subscribe to the UPI channel, YouTube channel, and like this video. I'll keep doing what I'm doing. You guys do what you're supposed to do, and I'll see you guys next time. Until then, namaste, take care, Jai.